Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the It's Pizza Time podcast. I am your host, Indigo, and I'm joined by my co-host, Victor,
Hello. You can also call me Lucius.
and my co-host, John.
Hello, you can also call me John.
And today, you just... All right. You know,
Keep going.
yeah, okay. And we're joined today by our lovely guest, Duumu.
Hey, I'm Duumu. I make music and I release most of it. Actually, no.
All right. Solid intro.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start you off with the precursor question of this podcast. All right, what's your favorite pizza? What's your go-to?
Ooh. Okay. This is a bit. Oh. Okay. Hold on.
Take
You know what?
your time.
This is a controversial answer, but I'm a big fan of pineapple on pizza.
You're a pineapple boy. I see.
Are you not?
Personally, I'm not really a fan of it. It just doesn't mix well for me. But it's like I'm not one of those people that's gonna like hate on others
I
for
hear you.
enjoying.
Pineapple is good. That's one of the best ones out there.
Oh,
Yeah, man.
all right. This man's spitting controversial shit.
It's good. It's just not. I personally, I don't see it as a personal favorite. I do enjoy it sometimes, but it's not my go-to slot.
I hear you. I hear you.
Honestly,
Yeah.
pizza.
But I respect it though.
I mean, I
Some-
love myself a good pepperoni pizza. Nobody doesn't like a good old pepperoni pizza.
Mhm.
If I'm given the choice, I'll probably usually go for a pineapple on pizza, or like just like full on, just like the everything pizza. It's got like all the meat and like the
Yeah.
peppers and shit.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking lit as well.
Well, when you go for pineapple, do you go for like just pineapple, or do you go for like Hawaiian, like with the ham?
No,
and shit?
Hawaiian, and that's like either with the ham or with like chicken as well. Sometimes like
Ooh.
chicken
Okay.
and pineapple.
That I've never seen that
Mm.
before.
I'm hungry now.
Yeah.
I haven't had dinner yet, so like I'm
Yeah.
fucking probably this might be the wrong question for me to ask.
Just gonna hit up with the pizza lady.
Oh my god, yeah. Dude, that's like the first thing I'm gonna do when quarantine's over.
Hit the pizza.
Yeah, just you get some good like New
Just a
York thin
big-
crust.
Big slice.
Yeah, I'm not.
What do you-
Huh?
Sorry. What do you think is better? Is the thin crust or the like deep
Deep dish, yeah, the
Deep
thick
dish.
boys.
deep dish? I love deep dish. I mean, I don't personally mind thin crust, but I feel like deep dish is fire.
I think it's like they're two different foods at that point. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
It's kind of like comparing fast food pizza and like genuine Italian pizza. It's like they're both really good in their own way, but like I wouldn't like they're basically different foods at that point.
like a deep dish
Okay.
is like a savory cake.
Mm.
It's kind of like it's just a cake except the icing is tomato sauce.
Mm.
Cheese pie.
Yummy.
Yummy cheese pie.
Cheese pie, bro.
Yeah.
Victor, do you wanna?
Yes.
Do you have a question or anything? You wanna go?
Okay. Segue into music. What was the first show that you've ever seen that inspired you?
That inspired me.
Well, that not necessarily inspired you, or maybe it could be two shows. It could be one that what was your first show, and then two, what was the show that most inspired
I see. Okay, I think my first show was my mom taking me to see this pop artist called Mika at the Stade de France in Paris.
you? Ooh.
Oh yeah, you're a French boy.
I am a French boy. Do you guys know Mika? Holy shit. He's
That
good.
familiar.
it sounds familiar as shit, but I honestly
Yeah.
don't know where I've heard it.
He had some really popular songs like 2007, 2009, you know? And then he kind of fell off. But yeah, that was the first show I went and saw. The show that inspired me the most, that's difficult. Like I feel like a cheesy answer would be Shelter because I went to see Shelter in Paris as well. But I feel like if I feel my answer would have to be that, not because of the actual Shelter show. Like it was an insane show. Because that's the first time that I met like a bunch of French producers who are now like a lot of them are my friends, like people like Kids Waste and
right.
you know, Kids Waste Chems and like that kind of like Slow Hours group. I met
Yeah,
them at that show, and that was a very inspiring moment for that reason. I'm trying to think of other shows that were inspiring. I mean, I've been to a few at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I
So, I
wouldn't
don't
be
know.
surprised.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Have you played
I played one. I played one show, dude. I moved out to Singapore so I could play more shows. I played one show, and then Corona.
It sucks.
That's the rip, dude.
Now I can't fuck.
How was that show though?
It was cool. It was a show that was like kind of half put on by the Singaporean government
Okay.
because it was happening at so there's this like really big, like really touristy spot in Singapore called Clark Quay, which is like this. It's like I mean, it's a key, right? It's a harbor. So there's the I don't know if you'd call it the ocean there because it's not the ocean. It's kind of like a river that comes off from the ocean. But it is really close anyway. So Clark Quay is like a really touristy place, and they'd never really done like a dedicated Clark Quay show, especially not in electronic music. And so this was like the first big Clark Quay electronic music showcase show, and it was like MYRNE was headlining. Manny was headlining, and then it lasted 3 days. It was like Thursday,
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday, and I played on Thursday and Friday. On Thursday, I was actually the only person to play. I had a this is okay. So this is outdoors. Okay, Singapore is hot and it's very humid, and this is an outdoors show. And the Thursday would have been my first ever live show, just of all time as Duumu. Thursday was my first ever live show, and it was a 2-hour set
Oh,
Damn.
in the heat of Singapore outside. Now, granted, on stage, you don't realize that you're really that hot because there's a fan blowing on you the entire time. But as soon as you come off the stage and the fan stops blowing on you, you realize, holy shit, I'm sweaty. So yeah, my first ever show was a 2-hour long set on a Thursday night where there weren't that many people. But on it was like longer practice. There wasn't that many people, so it wasn't super high pressure. And I just kind of winged it. I like put 100 tracks in a playlist. Just kind of went through them. It actually got to the point at the end where I ran through all of them, so I had to play some of them twice. But I only played the ones that the ones that I played twice are the ones that I played at the very start of the set. So anybody who would have been there then probably wasn't there now or didn't remember. So that was cool. But I wouldn't consider the Thursday to be my first show because the next day on Friday, that's when all my friends came and saw me, and that's when there was like more people, and I wasn't the only act and everything. And so I'd probably consider that to be my first actual show because again, yeah, my friends came and saw me. My ex flew all the way from her country as well to come see me at that show, and that was really
Damn.
cool.
damn.
Awesome.
And plus, I was literally the direct opener for MYRNE that day for Mr. Manfred. So that was cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
I
no.
played one show, and then I was told that I can't play them anymore because otherwise people will get sick.
Yeah, that's an ouch moment.
That's an
Uh,
ouchie moment.
yeah, dude. But like, speaking of which, like, I want to know is like the fucking the amount of shows, is it like high in Singapore? Is there actually like demand for that?
Yeah, so it's kind of weird. It's definitely a strange scene here because there isn't a scene. There's a bunch of different little micro scenes. I don't know how to describe it, but like, yeah, it's a bunch of different micro scenes, and but there is like a demand for shows, and then so you know how at least in Europe, and from what I've experienced in LA as well, aside from like a few big venues, most clubbing is kind of like underground and kind of dingy
Yeah.
and kind of
Yeah,
grimy,
yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
that's what we like about it.
1720.
Singapore clubbing is like a high end thing. It's like
Really?
there's every club in Singapore is like a table club, you know? It's like
Ooh.
it's super I really don't like it. Cuz it's you just meet like really pretentious people and like almost only rich people as well. And it's just kind of like, wow, you're really out of touch with literally everything. And you're also like, yeah, there's a lot of you meet a lot of insensitive people. Like obviously the people who work at the clubs, who are the people that I mostly deal with. So the artists and the organizers and the club company and everything, they're usually fine. They're usually good people. But
Right.
the people who attend the clubs most of the time are pretty shitty.
I mean, you could find that in like any situation, but
For sure.
I get what you're saying. It's probably like more so because it's like the way it's set up.
Yeah, because it's super high end. Like, dude, some of these clubs have like a $50 cover charge if you want to get in.
Whoa,
It's
that's whoa. That's
Would you call them necessarily clubs at that? I mean, are
well,
they
yeah,
EDM clubs or like what is it?
yeah, they are, dude. Like, but and then this is another thing about Southeast Asia that at least I think you know what? Yeah, Southeast Asia that most people don't know is like, holy shit, they're late on the scene, dude. Like right now, what's really hot? Well, at least when the pandemic wasn't hitting yet, what's really hot is like future bounce. You know, like bouncy EDM house. Like, yeah, that's
Mhm.
shit that we were listening to in 2015, 2016. That's what's popular here right now.
That's
Like
interesting.
even Big Room is really popular here. It's
Huh.
pretty weird.
so it's
The
kind of
scene here
like
is
it's kind of like what like the States and like Europe were kind of into like a few years ago.
yeah. That's like the case for most of Southeast Asia and China. To be honest, it's like they're kind of late on the whole scene.
That's
They're a
like
couple years late.
it's kind of weird, but also kind of cool. Like
Yeah,
It's like a time travel.
yeah,
You go
it's
back and see
very
what was up.
strange going to because at the same time it's still modern, right? So I'll go to a club and I'll hear a Future Bounce remix of Senorita by Shawn Mendes.
oh my
What?
god.
It's like what am I what's going on?
That's actually really funny.
And you know what? I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Ugh.
That's kind of cool though. I think that's kind of interesting
It's
and unique.
It's interesting, yeah, for sure.
I feel like it'd be interesting for us since we don't live it, and then
Yeah.
like, once we start living it, we'd be like, okay, like
Yeah, that's kind of how it is. It's like, oh, this is interesting, and then you're at the club for like 30 minutes, and you're like, okay, well, this is getting a little bit old.
yeah, I can imagine.
Yep.
You said you moved out to Singapore like to play more shows, and I wanna know, like since you were like born and raised in France, right?
I was born in the UK, raised in France.
Okay, born in the UK, raised in France, pretty American accent. Why Singapore of all places?
Well, there's a few reasons. The main reason being, so I said I moved out here to do more shows. That's like part of why I moved out here. It's not really the main reason. The main reason is my managers are based here.
Oh, okay.
And so a lot of the contacts that they have are in Asia, both in terms of venues and shows and in terms of like stuff like publishing and like producing for other artists, which is something that I'm doing more and more of. So that's kind of like the main reason that I moved out here. I have some other personal reasons that are now no longer relevant, but
Ooh.
yeah,
So, all right.
it was mostly for just like because obviously my managers they live here. A lot of their contacts are in Asia. It's kind of hard to be like, hey, New Music Friday Malaysia, why don't you put on our artist on your playlist? Yes, he lives in the UK, but that's no big deal. You know,
Yeah.
There's more incentive for me to be pushed out here through their contacts, seeing as I'm contributing to the scene out here rather than just doing it from somewhere else in the world.
Well, that's fair. I mean,
So it felt like the right move for now.
yeah. All right. Do you think you'll be in Singapore for like the I guess a lot longer down the road, or do you like
I
consider moving?
have honestly no clue. Like, dude, uh, because of stuff that happened over the winter and stuff like that in I think kind of mostly my personal life, a little bit in my professional life as well. For the first time in so many years, I have no clue what I'm doing after this. Like, I'm in Singapore right now. The way that I'm able to stay here and like live here is through a student visa because I'm still finishing up my studies. So I transferred to a school here.
Yeah.
Um, Once I graduate, I have no idea where I'm gonna go or what I'm gonna do. It's all gonna depend like hugely on where I'm at in terms of the different areas of my career as Duumu and as a producer on my own, like and a writer on my own.
Yeah. So like if you had to pick, like if you had to, like move out from Singapore like tomorrow, so you would have no idea where to go.
Well, I think if I had to leave, I would probably go back to Europe because that's where I grew up, and then like moving away from it, I realize now how much I love it there. Um, like this is one thing about moving to like places like Singapore or like Monaco or like city states that most people don't really think about, and it's like, you know how sometimes you and your friends just kind of go, "Hey, why don't we go to this place next week?" And you take a 4 hour long road trip with them, and then have a week in some random place far away, and then you come back. I can't do that because the whole place is a city, and
Right.
if I want to do a 4 hour road trip, I have to go into Malaysia and stuff like that. Um, so that's like a something that I miss is like scenery, like being
Yeah.
able to go on a road trip and then being able like Singapore's beautiful, like not where I live, but Singapore's beautiful in general. Um,
Like like what were you saying is like you can't really you can't really go out of the city without just leaving the entire country.
the country, yeah, which is something that I definitely miss.
There's no countryside to Singapore.
Not really. I mean, there's a nature reserve in the center of the country. It actually takes up a pretty large chunk of the middle. It's like a big, kind of like a national park, I guess, where you can do hikes and shit. But like also it's Southeast Asia, and I grew up in Europe, so like here it's hot and humid, and on top of that, all the trees and all the plants are like super dense and everything. Whereas where I grew up, it's just kind of like typical
Yeah.
um what would you call it, temperate climate forests and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I mean,
Random.
I love it. I love it here. There's a lot of stuff that I love about being here. Um, Mostly the food. Holy shit. But
You
but I think if I had to leave right now and I was told like you have to pick somewhere to go and then you have to go, I'd probably go back somewhere in Europe. Probably not the UK right now, but
I mean it's pretty bad over
um,
there. Like with all the
I
whole
mean, aside
corona
from
stuff.
yeah, aside from that, Brexit's not too cool. But let's not get into political stuff.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Politics. What is that?
yeah, politics. I hardly know her.
Uh all right. So John, you got a question? You got anything you want to bring up?
Um, I was just gonna say, like, besides your music, like, what's your like favorite genre in EDM, or like just anything in general?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I mean, I have a very special place in my heart for house because that's like what got into electronic music through is house.
Yeah.
Though at the time it was stuff like Dead Mouse and like
Oh.
um, stuff like that. That's less the case now. I'm more into. It's like this. I don't know if you guys know who Tourist is.
That does not ring a
Um,
bell for me.
it's like okay, Tourist or Bear Cubs, stuff like that. They're like or Bonobo. That's kind of the more
Oh,
popular one.
okay. Yeah,
Bonobo,
yeah,
Fiasco, Max Cooper, Fortet, that kind of stuff. It's like really experimental, Not really, but it's experimental enough, and it's very melodic and really nice and very analog and stuff. I really love that stuff right now. It's kind of what I'm into.
Awesome.
Nice, nice. I mean, I can hear like in your stuff, it's pretty out there. It's not like, I mean, it's not exactly. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like incredibly like crazy weird, but it's definitely like in a direction that I haven't seen like a lot of artists go. So,
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, like where'd you get like the inspiration for like what it was? Like the first thing I think I heard from you was like the Illuminate EP when that came out.
It's probably it's probably what most people heard first. Like the what do you mean the
Like
inspiration for?
like what was it that made you kind of want to do this kind of the like what made you kind of like solidify the sound that you have, compared to
Oh yeah. This is a weird question, and every time I get it, I give a similar answer, and that is like, I think if you ask most artists, they'll be like, I
like
like me, in that I don't hear that I have a sound. To me,
it's just like what's in your
like,
head, just kind of like all
dude,
right.
like to me, you listen to two, like if I listen to two of my songs, I'll be like, man, these are two completely different styles and genres and whatever.
Right,
But
right.
from another person's point of view, then I have a sound, and I think that's just because an artist's like sound is just a byproduct of the way they produce.
Yeah,
Um, so it's something that you can kind of only develop with time. It's not something that you can force. I mean, you can, but then it gets really repetitive. But I think if you don't force it, then it develops with time, right? So it's like
yeah,
in my 8.5 years of 8.5, something like that, years of producing, um, I've developed habits while I'm producing. There's certain things that I do the same way every time, and sometimes I'll switch them up, sometimes I won't. But in general, there's kind of like a set of things that I will usually do in order to make a song sound good to me, and I think that's what constitutes my sound is those sort of um, like subconscious things that I do because I'm like, yeah, this always works to make my song sound better, so I'm gonna do that.
yeah. So like, there's not really a, I guess, quote unquote, sound that an artist has, or if there is, it's not something they initially go for.
I mean, some do. Like, it
Yeah, I
definitely is
mean,
something that people do just because, like, of the era that we're in with marketing and stuff like that. But I
yes,
think most artists who are kind of like me, who just kind of make music because they feel like making music, they have a sound, but it's just a byproduct of all the habits that they've accumulated over the years of
yeah.
producing
It
that
just
turn into like
it just happens to be
action.
the way it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
I
That's
mean, it's good because, like, on the one hand, it's like, oh, well, I don't hear that I have a sound. On the other hand, it's like I don't have to try, and it'll always sound like me. Because,
Right,
like,
right.
I don't know what makes it me. So no matter what I do, it'll sound like me.
Hmm.
At least in a way. Like, I'm able, like, having spoken to a few people and talked about like my quote unquote sound a few times. I'm able to pinpoint certain things that I do that make it sound like me. So if I wanted something to be like, if I'm producing for an artist and I'm like, I don't want people to know that I produced this, I can definitely do that as well. But in general, I don't. When I'm not trying, it'll end up sounding like Duumu.
Got it. That's that's
yeah.
that's a good answer.
That
I like
might be probably one of the best answers we've had so far on anything.
that.
Kind of
Yeah.
mind opening.
Mind opening.
Mind
I'm
opening.
happy to. I'm happy to have opened your minds.
You're opening my third eye, bro. It's fucking going
Yeah,
crazy, dude.
that's crazy, bro.
Dude, it's fucking
Yo,
crazy.
what you just said, bro? Hella
I
nuts.
shit you not.
I shit you not.
Oh,
Craziest shit I ever heard.
dude.
Hmm.
I'm like, I was just about to make a fucking like, I shit you not. He turned himself into a pickle fucking thing, and I just had to stop myself. I was like,
Yeah, man.
dude, that's like,
Good going.
in my opinion, that might just be like the lowest form of meme out there right now.
I mean, it's really funny, but
It's
yeah,
funny, but it's like there's like no effort. It's like,
no,
why is it funny? You know?
exactly.
You're like, oh, that's funny, but like I can't explain it.
I mean, that's to be honest, that's my entire sense of humor. Is that's really funny, but I don't know why.
Oh yeah. I mean, I know. Like
Like,
we had an exchange over in Slyleaf's Discord a while back where we just exchanged cursed images for like a couple of,
yeah.
like an hour or so.
Dude, like the AI meme generator that people have been using the last couple of days.
No.
No? Okay,
No.
there's this it's like this page called "This Meme Does Not Exist."
Okay.
Uh I'll put the link in the chat for you guys. It essentially it creates memes based off of artificial intelligence. So it takes data from the internet
So just
and it creates memes.
What the hell?
it just takes a top
Yeah.
text, bottom text, and just
Yeah.
goes at it.
Not no. It's more complex than that. What chat did I
Oh.
put this in? Recording? I'll put
Just
it in the recording
Put
chat.
it anywhere, man. We'll find it.
Just if you check this out later or now or whatever, there's a bunch of different templates and it'll randomly generate a meme. There's one of the templates. It's like the Yoda meme. It's just like a picture of Yoda,
Uh-huh.
and I was just like cycling through random, I was randomizing it a few times, and eventually I got to one where it's just a picture of Yoda and it says "May the Force be with you." And for some reason, the fact that that was AI generated was the funniest thing to me. Like the AI just put a picture of Yoda and said "May the Force be with you,"
Just the most
and I was
normal
like,
Star Wars thing.
exactly. And I was like, that's it. I'm done. That's the funniest thing today.
The most
Actually,
normal thing, just to
my
put
friend
this-
Magent did one with like the Galaxy Brain meme, and in each of the 4 different like slots, it had like one word, and it just said, "Mario, stop eating my dog." It was just ridiculous.
That's cursed, man.
Oh,
That's
Hold on, I'm gonna go looking for that image and show it to you guys. You're gonna love it. But yeah,
okay.
continue.
Oh man, fuck. How do I top that?
Right?
How do I top Mario not eating person's dog?
Here, I
Uh,
found it.
Bruh.
This is AI. This is an AI generated image.
That's crazy that they're having AI do this now. Like,
Yeah, dude, it's like it knows what's funny. It's really good.
Bruh. That is
Anyway,
sad.
yeah.
Anyway, I wanna know like what's quarantine like in Singapore, as in like how strict are they with like lockdown and stuff like that?
Very. I mean, okay. In terms of our actual lockdown instructions, they're pretty chill compared to some countries. Like in France, for instance, I talked to my family about this. If they want to go outside for any reason, whether it be a walk or doing groceries, they have to have. Actually, it used to be a piece of paper that said like that it used to be like a dated piece of paper that had the names and the reason they were going outside and their like time of leaving.
They needed like a
I
permission slip? That's fucking crazy.
Basically a permission slip. I think the French government has implemented it into an app now, so you don't have to waste paper. So they made it into an app now, but still, like essentially in France, to leave your house, you need a. It's not so much a permission slip. It's just if somebody stops you, you need to show them this paper so that you can prove that you haven't been out for 4 hours doing nothing.
It's like a hall pass.
Exactly. Except it's for the world. In Singapore, like we're allowed to go out and do stuff. We just have to wear a mask, and we're also not allowed to like visit other people, right? Like we're not allowed to meet up with other people, and we're not allowed to visit other people. So like, it's not too harsh out here, but it is what is harsh is the penalties. Like if you're caught outside walking around not wearing a face mask, you could get up to $1,000 as a fine.
shoot.
Well, like
Right.
And if you're
1,000 USD or like 1,000.
SGD, which is equivalent to Canadian, basically.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I mean,
That's
that's
still a
still
lot.
bad.
It's still a lot, yeah. And then like the worst one is if you're caught going to somebody else's house or like visiting somebody else, you can get up to 10,000 for that.
Ooh.
So like naturally people don't.
Yeah,
You
of
know
course.
what I mean?
Yeah. Like here, you're kind of allowed to visit other people. Like there's not really anything about that, but you do kind of have to go outside with a mask on, like at least here in California.
Mhm.
And like none of these rules are really like enforced, but people are still following them. So we're like at the point where some restrictions might get lifted a little bit because like California is doing a good job.
Well, it was,
Yeah,
and then they opened Huntington Beach.
Oh yeah, that happened.
that's a situation. Yeah,
We don't talk about that. We don't.
Dude, I was talking about this last night with my friends in a Discord call, and I was just like, dude, the rest of the world is going to be done with coronavirus, and the United States is going to be dealing with it for another 5 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
100%.
that's just how it is. I'm sorry, you guys.
what's crazy is that I mean, at least in my city, we actually do have fines for going outside without a mask. I don't know how much the fines are. They're not too crazy, but ideally you don't want to be hit with them.
Yeah.
And they do have a law or a restriction in place that if you want to go into like any store or just like restaurant, you need to have a mask. So
Yeah, makes sense.
but I feel like that's socially enforced anyway.
Dude, I'll tell you one thing. This is the saddest part of the whole lockdown in Singapore, right? McDonald's is closed.
Oh, dude, that's a rip. It's open here for us.
It's closed, man, and they were supposed to reopen on Monday. They're not reopening.
Oh,
They're staying
Yeah.
closed a little longer.
that's crazy.
What am I supposed to eat at 4 a.m? Huh?
I mean, you could.
What am I supposed to eat when I get
When you get the munchies, bro?
the munchies?
You can cook something.
Cook in this economy?
That's an anti-gamer move, bro.
That's an anti-gamer move, dog.
Right, we gotta get rid of Corona ASAP.
Yeah.
We gotta forward.
It's gone too far.
Cook
Yeah.
your own meals? How dare they?
It's like I saw this infographic at the start of the Corona thing that Fox News posted, and it was like, "You need to shave your beard," and I was like, "That's it. Fox News have gone too far."
Like,
Yeah.
when has Fox News not gone too far? It's always too far.
Trying to let's go. Would that actually help though? Like shaving your beard?
Well, it would because
Probably.
because obviously the virus can, lodge itself into your beard, even if
That
you
is
like
true.
wearing a mask if you have a beard is pretty useless because
That's
like
true.
if the virus hits a part of your beard that's not masked up, it can make its way in. I don't know how to say this without it sounding super weird. But yeah,
I get it. No, I definitely get it.
shaving your beard is definitely like helpful, but like I will die before I shave my beard.
I mean, you got a nice mane on your face, dude. You got a nice one.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Homie.
No problem, man. All right. Okay. What we touched it on next?
I actually wanted to ask you about your name and where you came up with it.
Oh no.
Or did you just like kind of sit there and were just like random name generator?
Okay, let me tell you about how Duumu came to be, okay? When I started the Duumu alias in 2015, I wanted to make like virtual riot type music because that was very popular at the time, stuff that's kind of like glitch hop and dubstep and melodic stuff, but also hard stuff at the same time. So I thought dubstep music, DUMU. Fuck it, throw another U in there.
Ooh,
That's it.
That's it. That's
That's
the story behind Duumu.
Round of applause.
I mean, it's a beautiful name. It flows very well.
It's a
I love it.
You would
It's such an incredibly stupid like name origin story. I've told it so many times at this point as well. Everybody knows what it is, but at the same time, like, dude, SEO for Duumu, search engine optimization, crazy,
Mm-hmm.
dude.
You would have
Nobody
thought
else has called Duumu.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you would have thought that came from like somewhere, like a lot
No.
nicer. Like
No, it's
3
dubstep
U's.
music.
I mean, clearly we know how well that worked out.
Yeah, right. Making pop now. I don't care though. I mean, it's an interesting enough name.
Yeah.
I doubt I'll be Duumu for the rest of my life. That's probably not something that's going to happen. But Duumu will forever be like
Dubstep
a
music.
special thing in my heart because it is what has created my career. So
Yeah, I mean, you've definitely like since that like first EP that I heard, you've definitely gone like way up from that
oh yeah,
in the sense like
and I'm incredibly grateful for all of it. It's pretty nuts to me. Still, like I'll be looking at my Spotify stats and seeing like, wow, on any given day, there's an average of 12,000 people, individual people listening to my music. And that's just like, that's so stupid. That's so dumb. Why are there so many people?
I mean, it's good shit. Like, fucking,
Yeah. Thank you.
you have like the melodies that you choose to use are fucking like phenomenal. Like I think when Shifted came out, I had that melody like stuck in my head for probably like the longest time, because it was
Thank
like
you.
it was very like, don't take it the wrong way, but it was very simple, but it was like elegant
Yeah,
at the same time, and like nobody had come up with it.
that's
Also, it's like complex and simple enough, you know? Like in this,
yeah. No, I think simplicity is like one of the most important things, which is something that
yeah,
I've been practicing more with my recent music. So if you listen to stuff like Shifted was actually pretty simple, but if you listen to stuff like Keep You or Wash Away, the production's pretty extravagant. But then most
oh
of the
yeah,
music since then, I've sort of, I don't want to say dumbed it down, but I have. Um, like I've made it more simple because I find that stuff is usually more powerful. Um, and like the melody in Shifted, it's like it's just repetition. Repetition is the reason why it stays in your head.
yeah.
Um, like I honestly don't think I have the best melody writing out there. Definitely not even slightly. It's actually one of the things that I don't consider myself very good at. But it's good to hear that some of my melodies are sticking in your head.
Well, I mean, like you mentioned, Wash Away and Keep You. Like those two are probably like some of my favorite tracks. Like I mean, Wash
Thank
Away.
you.
Like I still like still jam out to that quite a bit. You know, no
Thank you, man.
no
I
one's
appreciate it.
watching. I'll just dance. You
Pop
know.
on the wash away.
Yeah, dude. I want to ask like, how did some of your like collabs come about? Like particularly like the most recent like MYRNE collab and stuff like that.
They all come about usually pretty naturally, or like just kind of like, hey, let's make some music together. That's usually how it goes. Like if you, for instance, with Sundial, who sang on Keep You, um, this was such a strange experience actually because I had been talking to them more and more um, for a little while, and then one evening for me, right? They live in the U.S. and I was in Europe at the time. So one evening, I'm like, oh, I should hit them up and ask if they want to work on something. And then I fell asleep, and I forgot to do it. And I wake up the next morning to them going, hey, you want to make something? And I was like, holy shit! I was going to ask you that last night, like before I went to bed. That's so crazy. Um, so that's probably like the craziest way that a collab came about. All the other ones, it was like
It was
with
just
Emiya on Forward. I had heard her on one of my friend's songs. I don't know if you know who Knapsack is, but she featured on
yeah,
one of Knapsack's songs. I was like, hey, she sounds really good. So I hit her up and I was like, hey, let's make a song together. And that's how that one came about. Danica Nadeau, her manager, reached out to me on by email. Paulina Hare on You Say. It was like I hit her with a DM, like a complete shot in the dark because she didn't
Paulina's
follow me at the time.
yeah, Paulina's such a nice
And,
person though.
she is, yeah, she's very very kind. But I didn't know this at the time. I was kind of intimidated. I was like, oh man, Paulina
Mhm.
Hare. She's worked with Tosca Black and Tails. Why is she gonna want to work with
Right.
me?
Oh yeah.
Um, and then she replied and she was like, yo, I love your shit. Let's do it. And I was like, oh, sick.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah. As for the MYRNE collab, so most people don't really know this because people don't really pay attention to email addresses, but we have the same managers. Um, so that's kind of like a part of it. But dude, Mern and I have had like a mutual respect for each other for a long time. Because if you go way back to before I even released Illuminate, this was actually the release that preceded Illuminate. I had a song called Fainted that came out on this label called Sola, and that was a sub-label of Duumu Records, which was run by MYRNE and Shui and a couple other and a Will Talk and stuff like that. So a few bigger EDM artists in the scene at the time, and they were running this label. And MYRNE was the guy who I was talking to at that label when I released fainted in 2017. Then we didn't really talk at all because we weren't really friends. I had just released on his label. We didn't talk at all until probably 2018. And then in 2018, I signed with the 110 agency, which is the management agency that we're both on now. And then we started talking a little bit more. And he hit me up one day and he was like, yo, let's make something. And this was in 2018. He hit me up to say, let's make something. And we have made probably like 6 or 7 songs together, but All for Nothing was the first one where we were both like, yes, this is sick. We need to put this out. But like, yeah, since then, so yeah, 2018, we started talking. And then over the course of the year of 2019, I went to Singapore a few times because I was going to Asia and anyway. And so we would hang out then. And then I moved out here. And so since I moved out here, you know, coronavirus aside, he would come hang out like once a month or once or twice a month to my house, and I'd go to his house and shit like that. And we're pretty close now. I'm very honored to be able to call him a friend because he's also one of the like people who inspired the hell out of me when I was starting out with music.
I mean,
So it's really wacky to be able to call him a friend.
Right.
oh,
But at the same time,
cool.
we are.
that's the word too.
Yeah, wacky, dude. It's super cool to be able to call someone like that a friend after like knowing them for a couple of years and stuff like that. And like we work on music all the time. Like he's helped me produce some of my own songs, and I've been helping him produce some of his music lately. So we work well together. We have a similar like taste in music, so we know, like we kind of know what each other are going for whenever we send each other songs to work on.
Right.
And like I said, like we've made, let me think, there was 1, 2, 3, yeah, in total we've made 4 songs together, and All for Nothing is the only one that came out because it was the only one that both of us were like, yes, this is really sick and we want it to come out.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 3 unreleased Duumu and MYRNE collabs just sitting on hard drives at the moment.
Do you plan on
You gotta
ever
come out.
putting
Yeah.
those out, or like?
I don't think so.
You think they're just gonna sit there and just gather dust? Eventually,
I think they're
just...
going to sit there and gather dust and eventually get leaked.
Let's
They're going to get leaked.
hope not. But
Dude, they're going to get leaked in the Duumu Dropbox leak of 2023.
oh,
Oh, is there?
I'm predicting the future.
Oh, dude, that's
It's
oh
like-
my god, psycho.
Yeah.
I
Man.
mean, are you gonna be playing them at shows potentially? Then
Sorry, could you repeat
are
that?
you gonna play them at shows potentially?
Maybe. I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't think most of them are very show-friendly songs because they're mostly like pop and,
Right.
and more on the chill side of things. But I might
Maybe
drop
like the
them.
closer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just kind of see like how the crowd goes with it too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Like if it works with the vibe of that show, then I might drop one. But yeah,
yeah. Are there like
Sounds
a
good.
bunch of people that you haven't that you've made like songs with that you haven't like released? Or that just like
probably.
never really thought about like putting it out there? You're just like,
Probably. This is something that like okay, I used to think I've been thinking about this a lot in the last probably like 2 years or something. But it's like when I started making music, I was in a mindset where everything I made I had to put out. I was like, this is a song that I made and I'm proud of it. I need to show it to the world. And ever since like releasing on Monster Cat and there's basically like kind of more pressure to make good music and to adhere to a certain style or brand or whatever. Ever since then, I've sort of I think discovered for the first time the love of making music just to make music. Like I have so many songs that I'll make like a full ass song and then never put it out. But I'm like, I'm happy with it. It's a good song. I made it and I don't feel the need to share it. I'm happy with it being mine, basically.
yeah,
Right.
And I think that's very important because it means that I don't have to always be working on music to be released, which is sometimes very stressful. I can just like in that sense, music is both a profession and a hobby, right?
yeah. Like,
Because there's music that I make for my quote unquote job, which is the music that I release, and then I can still make music as a hobby, which is stuff that I don't intend on releasing, or maybe stuff
Right.
that I'll put out on my Charlie page or something like that. So yeah,
I like that answer.
yeah, that's a pretty. Dude, Victor's really enjoying that. He's savoring that
Yeah.
answer.
Saving that answer.
Saving
For
it.
sure.
Delicious answer. All right.
I'm gonna sit and think about it for the rest of the night.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely a good way to look at it, because it's like, I feel like for a lot of people, it's like a lot of people don't really come to that realization that they can just make music for the fun of making music.
Yeah, exactly.
like
I mean, especially when you get to a point where, like, I'm not big by any means or any stretch of the imagination, but I have enough of a fan base where it's like I have to put out music. And when people are around my stage and bigger, it's usually kind of a question of like, oh, well, music means money, time is money. I need to make a living, which I do too. But like, yeah, I mean, I think making music just for yourself has taken a lot of pressure off of it for me. And like, this is something that I've been struggling with for a couple of years. Is like I've felt like I have been kind of forced into making a certain style of music or a certain genre of music, when that's really not the case. It's just kind of a personal thing. And actually, I talked about this with my managers recently, and they just said, like, you know what, like, stop thinking about all that. Just make whatever the hell you feel like making, and we'll figure out where it fits in afterwards. And since I've started doing that, it's made music so much like less of a pressure thing. Like nowadays, if I'll start an idea, I don't even give a shit where it goes. I'll just start the idea, I'll make the song. If it ends up on Duumu because it's a Duumu style of tracks, that's great. If it doesn't, that's fine.
It's awesome.
I'm very lucky to have managers who are supportive of that process as well, rather than managers who are like, we need to put out music. I mean, they are like that, but at the same time, they're understanding enough to be like, you can't just press a button and start making music one day. It's all a big complicated system, and artists are annoying and stupid. So
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm like, yeah, that's super generous of your managers to do, because I feel like with a lot of these people, they get pressured into putting out music that they don't really like or don't want. So,
dude, it really is. I think these are the first managers I've ever had, and I think, and like, to be fair, I did do my research for months before I settled on getting a manager.
It's a good thing.
And I think I hit it right. Like, they're honestly such good managers. They're very supportive of anything. Like, literally, I was having a bit of a hard time over the winter to make new music, and I came to them and kind of like, quote unquote, came clean, because it's also kind of disappointing when you can't deliver to your managers. So I, like, quote unquote, came clean to them, and they were just like, listen, whatever you want to do, like, if you want to quit Duumu and start a new alias, we're with you. And like, that's so cool of them to do.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of managers would just be like pissed if you were like, oh, I can't make music.
Well, I don't know about a lot, but there's definitely some managers out there who'd be like, well, you better suck it up and finish this damn track.
Fuck that.
Yeah, dude.
And I got really lucky right off the bat with my first managers, that they ended up being so supportive. And so, shout out to Adam and Alex.
All right. Yeah. Shout out those guys. I'm assuming they're your managers.
Yeah. No, they're just random. They're two random dudes.
Yeah. Just be like the worst. That's just be like the best way you could possibly like just troll us. Just shout out a couple people that just have like, you don't even know an Adam or Alex.
Yeah.
Like you just throw out some names. Just
just to test if your managers are actually watching.
Yeah. Which they probably won't, but that's fine.
Yo, what up, Ezekiel, my boy?
Shout out Ezra.
Oh.
I don't know any Ezras.
Yeah, I feel like Ezra is not a very common name.
No.
I feel like Ezekiel.
It's a cool name though.
Yeah, I mean, like any name with a Z in it is pretty dope.
Yeah,
pretty dope.
Like, dude, I would have much preferred if my parents called me Ezekiel. Like, I'm not even like religious or anything, because I know it's like a religious name, but I'm like, dude, that shit's dope. It's got a Z and a K in it, and it's like, whoa.
That's nuts.
What if your name is just ZK?
Bro,
ZK.
I'll be pretty rad.
Your full name is Ezekiel, but then your nickname is ZK.
ZK is short for Zonky Kong.
Oh my god.
Donkey Kong.
Alright.
Oh
What
my
would
god.
Donkey Kong be though? Like, it would just be. Would he just be like the member of the Donkey Kong family that just like fucking smokes weed and just chills out?
Donkey Kong. Yeah,
My
that
god.
sounds about right.
Smonkey Kong.
Alright.
Kong.
Anyways, to bring you
Let's
back,
move on.
how's it like to have one of your songs in a video game? Because I know you have that track Sundial in Rocket League, and personally, Rocket League is one of my favorite games of all time. So,
Well, actually, Victor, I have 2 songs in video game
Oh.
Rocket League.
oh,
Victor.
When
oh,
Do your
when Blinded
research.
came out, that one also ended up being in Rocket. It was actually the first, like the menu screen song in Rocket League for like 6 weeks after it came out.
Right.
You know, when you open the game, like there's a
Yeah,
song that
it's-
starts
it's
playing.
first.
That's like
Yeah,
a preset.
yeah.
Song. It's always the same one.
that's super sick.
It was Blinded for a couple weeks, which was super cool. It's super weird to me, like, because on top of the music, I have a flag in that game. Like, there's a
Yeah.
flag with my old logo on it, which is out of
Mhm.
date because it's my old logo, and I wonder if I can ask them to replace it with the new logo.
You
But
should.
I mean, it's a cute
maybe
logo.
maybe I'll ask.
It's a cute logo.
Um,
Just a little dude with the
Little
thing.
dude with the yeah, but it's also not my new logo, so you know.
That's
Mhm.
But anyway,
Haven't put two.
it's super weird to me because it's like I played Rocket League like for a while. Like I played Rocket League for a while before my music was put into it, and like to open the game and be in the middle of like matchmaking or like customizing my car and to see my name pop up in the bottom, because when the songs start it like pops up in the bottom.
yeah.
To see my name pop up in the bottom and my artwork and shit, it's like this is really nuts. Like that's so crazy.
Right.
I mean, just to think so many people have seen that now, and so many people
Mhm.
know like nowhere, like know
Dude,
it.
exactly.
Yeah, because of that whole Monster Cat thing that Rocket League has going, like I've found so many new artists that I do. It's super
Yeah.
sick.
I mean, like
They've actually changed the way that they do them because, like, if you remember, there was many volumes. I think 6
Yeah, it
volumes,
was like 7, something like
6 or
that.
7
They were
Rocket League
like-
X Monster Cat. So they, it's funny because I was talking to the Monster Cat guys about this when we were planning the release for Talk because we were talking about the Blinded thing for
Mhm.
Blinded to go on Rocket League.
yeah.
So we were planning the release for Talk, and we're talking about this. And Ori, the guy who manages the Instinct brand,
oh yeah,
Yeah.
was like, yeah, so we've stopped doing Rocket League X Monster Cat volumes because like nobody wants to see a fucking volume 43. So we're
Yeah.
just like, so they're just rolling out songs in the game as they come out now,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, which is
which I think is cool because it puts more emphasis on each individual song that comes out in the game as well.
yeah.
But yeah, it's cool, man. It's super strange to have my music be in a game that has a huge player base.
Right? And to this day, it's still so massive and has a huge competitive scene.
Yeah,
Like 40 million active
Crazy.
players.
or something like that. I mean, you also got to think about like how many people do you think are like hearing your tracks and like know your tracks like front to back, but just don't know like what it's called or the name, like just like hear it in the
Yeah.
background, just like, oh, I know what song that is, but like I never bother looking at the bottom right corner of my screen.
Yeah.
I definitely have a problem with doing that for sure. There's so many songs that play in that game that I just absolutely love. Like, to be honest, at first I didn't even know who I mean I knew who Grant was, but I just didn't know his music that well. Like I've heard a couple songs and I loved them, but seeing his name at the bottom and always hearing his music and just me singing along to it, actually searching it up and finding it out it was Grant, I was just like, what? Like
Yeah,
that
man.
was surprising. So
I mean, like, yeah, to sort of, it's so weird. Like, so many people subconsciously know my song.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know what you should do? You should be walking out in public and just like play your music, or just go to a place where they play video games. Right? I don't know if they have like PC bond, but
Dude, they absolutely do. They have like, they call them LAN cafes, and it's
Mhm.
literally like it's like an internet cafe, but it's
Yeah.
to play video games, and they have a bunch of those around Singapore.
that's super
And
sick. You should go
they're
into
all super dodgy, but in
Yeah.
like it. Who cares?
Go to
Mhm.
hold a speaker above your head and just be like,
play your music, and then person's like, "Is that from Rocket League?"
Dude, you say that, but when it comes to like my everyday life and like in public, out with people and talking to meeting new people and people at school and stuff like that, I stay quiet about the whole Duumu thing. Like I want people to get to know me as Charlie, as like the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Before they're like, hey, you're Duumu. I'm gonna be your friend for clout.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I totally understand that.
They're gonna
Give
get
around.
so much
But
clout
yeah.
from Duumu.
Dude, it's like when I'm on dating apps and people ask me what I do, I give the most vague possible answers. I'm like, oh, I work in the music industry. And they're like, oh, what do you do in the music industry? I'm like, oh, I work with producers and labels,
I set up the box.
So
None of it's a lie.
what do you do for a living? I work.
I work.
I make money. It doesn't matter how much or like how I do it. It just matters that
Dude, if
I
you
make
answered with that, somebody would think you were probably like like
Drug dealer.
Yeah,
of course.
doesn't matter.
So
how
what
I
does
get
it
my
what does
money,
it
just-
matter what I do for money?
I thought this was about me.
About me, what does it matter how I make my money?
For
Are you a drug
real?
dealer? Are you a drug dealer? And then in my head, it's like, do I want them to think I'm a drug dealer or a
Or
musician?
music producer.
Yeah, I'm a drug dealer.
Dude, like, hey, at least if you say you're a drug dealer, they'll like assume that you have like a stable income compared to like the
Exactly.
starving artist like mentality.
Fuck.
What's your
I am a
job?
starving artist. I dropped my capo on my desk.
Oh, you're a guitar player. I see.
No.
What?
But I own a guitar.
Ooh.
I'm a guitar player in the same sense that I am a keys player in the same sense that I am educated in music theory, in that I know enough about all of them to get by,
Yeah.
but I'm not good at any of them.
For music
That's-
producing, that's all you really need, though.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like in the end, like music theory, it helps, but it's like it's not mandatory.
Yeah.
Well, it especially isn't for like, because I'm lucky and I was born with like a musical ear. So like I never had to have any training or whatever. I could immediately tell if something was out of key. And that's not to say like a weird mode, right? Like if I'm playing a chord progression and there's like a cool like chromatic approach chord, I'll be like, oh, this sounds cool because it's technically not wrong. But if I hear something that is technically wrong, then I'll be able to tell. And I'm very lucky to have that because it means that my entire time making music, I've always been able to keep everything on key without ever needing to try for it.
Yeah, like you definitely have I guess, an advantage than like most people.
It definitely is. It definitely is lucky.
Yeah, I mean, fucking, I have good like relative pitch, I guess, but I don't have good like, like my perfect pitch is then like my ability sometimes to like come up with chords is awful. Like I cannot like do it, whatever. But it's like if I hear like one note, I can determine other shit based off of that. But like,
Yeah.
I can't do anything. Just like, what works well with this key, this note.
Dude, no, for sure. Me too. Like, I don't know any of the actual, like, the stuff that you learn. I don't know any of it. I just know that, if I play an F, I'll be able to be like, oh, this note's right, this note's right. Oh, that one's wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. I feel like I have that too. Because I don't necessarily know too much about music in the sense of theory, but I'll definitely be sitting there playing stuff and I'm like, this doesn't feel right. And then I'll change it. So.
Exactly.
I mean, then again, it's also like everybody has like a sense of what they think is good.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I'm just saying, like, if the notes match up, but yeah.
Some people have a sense of what they think is good and it's actually bad. And that's okay because then you learn to get good. But trust me, like in my time making music I'm thinking of this one specific guy. I won't say his name because it's mean, and I also don't think he's produced in years. But there's this guy that I made a song with like fucking ages back. I must have been 13 or fucking 14 when I did this. And he was just not good at that. Like he had cool sound design and his mixing was interesting. But when it came to melodies and chord progressions and stuff like that, he was awful. Like he had no idea what he was doing in terms of music theory. Like it was all off key so much of the time.
yikes, bro. I mean,
And he
chances
thought
are
it
he's
sounded
probably
fine.
not gonna hear this, so
No, he probably won't.
chances are. Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, it's so weird. Like, because when you have a musical ear like that, like you guys seem to have from what you're telling me as well, it's you hear something like that and you're like, how do you think that's right? Like, how in what world do you think that's correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you hear that sometimes with people that are like, okay, so if this is here, then this is it. It's kind of like people who are determined. I mean, for people with like a musical ear, it's like looking at somebody trying to put like a square peg into a round hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but for everybody else, it's just like they just can't tell the difference.
Yeah, no, exactly. And like I don't mean this in any way to be insulting or pretentious or anything. It's just to me it's like so weird that like it's like that just doesn't sound right to me, and it's weird to me that it sounds right to some people.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's interesting.
I mean, like, yeah, that's just how that is sometimes. All
Big.
right. I'd say we're reaching just about. I'd say we're reaching like the end of our time here. So is there? Do you guys have anything you want to ask Duumu? Duumu, do you have anything you want to ask us?
I think I pretty much covered up most of my stuff.
Yeah. All right. We're good. There's nothing else.
Actually, do you have any new teases for anything coming out, or just anything you can talk about in the future?
Yeah. I have a remix coming out, I think soon. I can't tell you who it's for and where it's gonna go, but it's
What?
coming soon, and I think you'll all enjoy it very much.
Oh.
Just because of the artist that I'm remixing and where it's going, I think you'll all enjoy it very much. But I'm excited about that. And I also have 2 songs that I just finished recently, and one of them that I've been working on for months, and it's literally like the most important song I think I've ever made personally, like on a personal level. And we're finally in the process of releasing it. So I'll be hopefully announcing that within the next couple of weeks
Hell
as
yeah.
well. And I'm very
Ah.
excited about that.
Hell
excited to
yeah.
hear it.
Spicy stuff.
Spicy
Alright.
stuff.
I guess that will conclude our episode with our very special guest, Duumu. Get the round of applause, I guess. I'm holding a microphone, so
Hell yeah.
there we go.
There we go.
Do you wanna go ahead and plug yourself real quick? Just shout out. like-
I'm running. Okay, yeah. Well, follow me on Twitter at Duumu. Follow me on Instagram at Duumu_. I'm trying to get that I am trying. But yeah, at Duumu_ on Instagram, at Duumu on Twitter. I also put up all of my Charlie music on Bandcamp yesterday, so if you like my Charlie stuff, it's charliemakesmusic.bandcamp.com. Also, I'm a starving artist during the coronavirus, so if you want to support me but you want to get something in return, I have a Patreon, which is
Oh.
just patreon.com/Duumu. So you might want to consider supporting that.
All right. All those links are gonna be in the description. So.
And join my Discord server.
All right, sick. All of those links are gonna be in the description. Check out
Thanks,
Duumu's
man.
shit. I'll put your SoundCloud in there since you didn't mention that as well.
Yeah.
And then check out the rest of the podcast episodes. Links also in the description. Check us out. But thanks for coming on, Duumu.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, guys.
All right, yeah, of course. All right. So we'll see everybody in the next episode. Later.
See you guys.